So digicams and vintage digital seem to be growing in popularity lately. They are cheap and cheerful, easily thrifted, and connected to the Y2K aesthetic and the indie sleaze trend. But that's not all these cams are good for. In today's video, I will be giving you film shooters 5 reasons why you need to own a digicam. So anybody who's done research on digicams has probably heard of CCD sensors. These sensors were featured in early 2000s digital cameras and are unlike the CMOS sensors that you'll see in new digital cameras. CCD sensors are becoming pretty sought after, and this is for a few reasons. So a lot of people are of the school of thought that CCD sensors produce a truer to life color palette and a more filmic kind of look. So the same way you might put a different film stock in your camera to get a different look, these digicams with CCD sensors all have different kind of vibes and looks to them depending on which one you buy. And there's a lot of information on the internet pertaining to which camera will give which look, and people have varying opinions on this. So I've been playing around with digicams a lot lately, and that is partly thanks to the channel 1 Month 2 Cameras, which if you haven't seen, you must watch. I recently got to interview Ali on my podcast, and we talked about why you should use digital cameras and the place that they can have in your kind of film shooting repertoire, what the film look really is and means. So I'll link that below if you want to have a listen. Definitely check her channel out. So I have a few digicams all from different places. Maybe they've been thrifted or been given, or we've just kind of had them in a drawer. But I was using this Sony Cybershot all of 4.1 megapixels. And I am loving the results, especially with the flash. This little camera has one of the CCD sensors that I was talking about earlier, and I think you can kind of see what people are talking about when you look at the results. If you do want to know more about CCD sensors and like the specs of different cameras, definitely check out Ali's channel, and there are a couple of other people on YouTube that are going more in detail on this, but if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that that's not my thing, but I definitely can see why people are going crazy over these CCD sensors. The number 2 reason I think that you should try a digicam is for the reason of experimentation. You can just try out like any kind of style. Maybe you've always wanted to try street photography, but you don't want to waste a roll of film on doing that, get the results back and then be like, oh, that didn't work out very well. You can just try it with a digicam, just have fun. The stakes are really low, and you'll find that you'll kind of like open up a little bit more when you're out and about shooting with one of these. It's a great way of trying things out to see if you want to then shoot it on film, whether that's a location or a style. Maybe you've always wanted to try portraiture, but you're really worried to do it on film because you have nothing to show the model, or you're worried that you're not going to get good shots back for them. You can just try it with a friend even first, like on a digital camera, and then switch to film if you liked the experience, and you won't be wasting anyone's time or any of your own money. You can also get really super creative with these. I love using the flash. I love on-camera flash, and I do that with film a lot, but you can get a pretty similar look with these. So if you've always wanted to try flash or like fill flash or anything like that, I think digicams can be great to explore that. When I was chatting with Ali from 1 Month 2 Cameras, she said that they're kind of like Polaroids, like how we used to use Polaroids to test things out before we took the actual shot. I think that digicams are kind of like the modern day Polaroid, but a lot less expensive. Reason number 3 is very practical. That is convenience and cost. Sometimes when you're going to go out and shoot and you're trying to decide on like which camera to take and which film stock to use, and then you're stuck with that ISO and like the weather might change, or like, do I want to use that roll of like 400D? I only have one, or, you know, am I going to shoot expired film? How many cameras do I need? Like, what if I see something in color and I have black and white? It's just like, oh my God, so much. This is where digicams come in, and they can just be so easy and convenient. You can just like have it in your handbag or have it in like the glove box in the car, and it's just like an easy choice to make. Most of them are pretty compact and can fit in your pocket as well, unlike probably most of your film cameras. This goes without saying, but obviously shooting with a digicam is way cheaper than using film, and I did touch on this in my saving money video, which I will link below if you want to go and check that out afterwards. But having a Digicam can maybe save a few rolls of film for something else that really kind of warrants being shot on film. If you were going out for dinner at night or like going to like a party or something, I think that this would be a really great option over like a kind of expensive film camera. And if you're just wanting to get shots just like, you know, throughout the night and as many as you want, this is so perfect. It's also really good for photographing small children who move around a lot and you don't want to like waste film on them, or even to give to a small child. Ali said that that was how she first got into this, because she wanted a camera to be able to give to her daughter to try out photography, and then she ended up loving it herself. These can be picked up really cheap and actually in thrift stores, unlike film cameras these days. So while I was out shooting with this Cybershot, I thrifted another Cybershot, like King Jape style. This one is a 7.2 megapixels camera, so like newer than this one. We haven't tried it out yet, but we've ordered the memory card for it. But this was $10 in like a thrift store, like Salvation Army type place. So yeah, it was really funny. We were out shooting Digicams and then we found another one. So that goes to show how easy they are to find and how cheap they are to buy. As cheap as these cameras are, there are a few that are going up in price on eBay, and the hype around them seems to be increasing the price a little bit on eBay and stuff like that, but you can still find them on Marketplace, or even just like ask somebody in your family who probably has one lying around. This Canon Ixus here is one that I got from a neighbor, along with a couple of other cameras as well. This one is a little bit newer than the Cybershots that I've shown you before, and actually has a CMOS sensor. I still really like the images from this. But as a general rule, if you are wanting something with a CCD sensor, I'm pretty sure anything under 10 megapixels will have it. But you can always look online, or you can join the 1 Month 2 Cameras Discord group, and I'm sure that people in there would be able to answer your questions on that. It's a real rabbit hole going down the CCD sensor rabbit hole. While we were out shooting, I was so excited to just be able to see the photos straight away on like the back of this like little screen. And then when we got home, we just saw our photos straight away. And because I literally always shoot film, I was like, wow, this is so cool. I get to see my photos straight away. So for me, that's a real plus. If you shoot any kind of digital, you're probably laughing at me. But I do think it's cool to like instantly be able to look at what you've shot that day and kind of critique yourself, I guess. So if you are a film shooter like me, you will know the pressure that you sometimes feel when you put a roll of film in your camera and then you're like, oh my God, every one of these has to be good because it costs like this much money. Or you get to like frame 30 and you're kind of like, oh, I just really want this like out of my life. So you kind of just shoot the 6 shots and then you're like, oh, these weren't that great. I should have thought about it more. And then you get like the film guilt. This is so relatable. Using something like this really just lowers the stakes and like takes the pressure and the anxiety of like nailing every shot. I love film so much, and obviously will continue to shoot film majority of the time, but I do really like this because it feels less serious and just like more fun. I can literally take a photo of like whatever I want and it doesn't matter, and it kind of helps me to just like, you know, break out or like see more and not be so in that like really serious film zone. While I was shooting this, I really enjoyed trying out like different compositions, because I kind of have a style of composition that I always sort of go to when I'm shooting film, and I don't want to try something else out or take too many photos of the same thing because I'm like, oh, it's a waste because it's so expensive. So using something like the Cybershot the other day, I could get a couple of different angles of something and like not feel bad. It's a great way to practice like a new style or different compositions. So despite how fun and freeing and cool it is using these Digicams, I still kind of felt a little bit like I wasn't trying as hard as when I'm shooting film. But I think that's kind of a good thing. I think that it shows me that shooting film for me really makes me try hard, because I know that the stakes are higher, I know there's a cost involved, and I really want to nail it. So I'm trying really hard and I'm really focusing, and I'm only shooting things that I think are going to be really banger shots. So even if you have one of these at home and you just go out and shoot it and you're kind of like, you know what, this really wasn't for me, you're still getting something out of it because you're realizing like the why behind your photography and like what medium you choose. Like we all have our reasons for shooting film. Some people really like the slow process of it. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm like that. Like I love shooting with a point and shoot and just, you know, banging through a roll. But I still was kind of like, oh, this is just endless. Like I could keep shooting, and it just didn't feel like there was as much effort being put in on my behalf as a photographer. And I think that showed in my photographs on digicams versus when I shoot film. This is really enlightening and interesting to learn about yourself as a photographer. And that's the beauty of trying something new, is that you will learn a lot about yourself. So shooting these could help you reconnect with film if you're feeling kind of burnt out on it, or you're like, oh, it's so expensive. So you do something like this and then you realize why you shoot film. But you can also shoot digital too. That's fine. Stick around for my bonus 6th tip on why you should own a digicam. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately on when I'm going to make a zine, or do I have any tips or advice for going through that process of making a photo book or a zine that you self-publish. I know a lot of you watching have maybe already made a zine, or you've been thinking about it, but it can be pretty overwhelming. So I have a course that might help you out. You may have heard of Skillshare in my other videos, but you might not be aware how much you can really learn and explore your creativity on this platform. This course by David Miller, titled Design Your Own Photo Book, is an interesting, authentic, and informative look at building your own photo book. You can really tell that David has a passion for printed work and is an active member of the zine community. What better person to learn from? You will work through format, selection, cover design, layout, flow and sequencing, as well as a final edit. I find it quite hard to find information packaged up like this on YouTube, and the great thing about Skillshare is it's ad-free, so your focus is uninterrupted. It also will save where you're at if you have to cut it short, and you can come back and just jump straight back into learning. If making a zine or a photo book isn't what you're looking for, don't worry. There are literally thousands of courses on Skillshare for you to explore, and there's new ones added each week. Even just scrolling through the homepage on Skillshare makes me super excited for all of the skills and hobbies that I could start learning and exploring. I highly recommend this course by David Miller if you are thinking about self-publishing any kind of work, whether it be a kind of slap together photo zine or a professional type photo book. And good news, you can try this course for free. The first 1,000 people to click the link below or use my code LucyLumens Analog Adventures will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium. I've pinned that link in the comments below so you can click through and start this course today. So the bonus reason that you should get yourself a digicam is the community that surrounds it. There is a huge growing community online of people who are loving picking up these like vintage digital cameras. There's more channels on YouTube popping up, and somebody like Ali is such a great resource and can connect you to other people in the community through her Discord group. Every time I post about digicams on my Instagram, I seem to get some new followers and lovers of digicams and connect with like cool people, and it's so exciting seeing the work that people are producing on like a 4.1 megapixel camera in 2022. If you've been shooting film for a long time, you probably have a pretty solid community, and the film community are really great, but it's really exciting when you get like a new hobby or interest, and then that opens the doors to all these new people that you can meet and chat with. So I just saw on Instagram that my regular lab, Ikigai Film Lab, are going to be shut for a couple of weeks in September as they are going on a well-deserved holiday. Of course, when I first saw this, I completely panicked because I was like, who is going to develop my film? But Lux and I were saying this is the perfect opportunity to break out more digicams and maybe do a whole month of just shooting digital. I want to try more of these, and also our Fuji X20 that we use to take the photos for a lot of thumbnails and like family stuff, and it just looks so good. I'm thinking I might get really out of my comfort zone and even try this camera that we are filming on, the Fujifilm X-T4, that just sits there and doesn't really get used except for YouTube videos, and that kind of seems like a crime. So if you pick up a digicam in a thrift store or you shoot one, please let me know. Tag me on Instagram, Lucy_Lumen, and definitely join the Discord group via 1 Month 2 Cameras on Instagram and check in with Ali.